I don't want to do anything controversial. I just want to talk about something mundane and straightforward. Star Wars. I can remember sitting in the movie theater watching Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9, and all of a sudden, stormtroopers were flying, Rey and Kylo Ren were kissing, and somehow Palpatine had returned. What were we doing? Now imagine for a moment that the Star Wars sequel trilogy ended totally differently. No resurrected Emperor, no galaxy-ending armada pulled out of nowhere, no last-minute Rey Palpatine twist. Instead, picture Star Wars Duel of the Fates, Colin Trevorrow's unmade version of Episode 9, the story that could have taken all the pieces from The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi and actually brought them home in a way that felt bold, human, and true to the spirit of Star Wars. Because if Disney had gone with that script instead of The Rise of Skywalker, well, the franchise would have taken a completely different trajectory, and it would have been a decision that would have saved Star Wars. So let's rewind to where we were back in 2017. The Last Jedi had just come out, and whether you loved it or whether you hated it, it made some serious choices. Now sure, it could have done without Leia floating through space. Sure, it could have done without Space Atlantic City casinos. But it expanded what the Force could actually mean. It showed that heroes can fail and still inspire others. It teased that anyone could be a somebody, even if you were a nobody. Remember Broom Boy? I mean, that idea terrified the corporate machine a little bit. It wasn't clean, it wasn't nostalgic, it was new. And instead of doubling down on that momentum, Lucasfilm and Disney totally panicked. Trevorrow was out, J.J. Abrams was back in, and the end result, The Rise of Skywalker, was a film that felt like it was sprinting backward through the trilogy, trying to patch everything together with the world's strongest glue gun. The Rise of Skywalker came across like a film written by Reddit, full of puzzling attempts at fan service, non-commitments to ideas, and a series of long-winded coincidences that somehow come together in an attempt to form something resembling a plot. It was a decision that was off-putting for the large majority of Star Wars fans and even many of the actors involved. And it did significant damage to the characters they had spent several years trying to build, to the point that we even found out recently Bob Iger and Disney executives passed on an attempt to make an Adam Driver-led Ben Solo movie. The Duel of the Fates? That version had guts. The galaxy was already in chains, ruled completely by the First Order. Communication across planets was blocked, and the Resistance was totally fractured. The story opened on desperation, not because of some returning ancient evil, but because tyranny had already won. And from there, it wasn't blowing up another super weapon like we've seen a million times. No, it was about uprising and revolution and the power of people. Finn and Rose had a full living arc, leading a rebellion on Coruscant, the fallen heart of the Republic now under First Order control. Stormtroopers started defecting, joining the people they once oppressed, and even C-3PO and R2-D2 have a heroic final run. Rey, meanwhile, wasn't related to anyone famous. She wasn't born of Palpatine's lineage or part of some cosmic destiny written in blood. She was just Rey, a scavenger turned Jedi who found her power not through family, but instead through choice. Remember how bent out of shape some people were about Luke Skywalker's portrayal in The Last Jedi? Well, in Duel of the Fates, Rey continued to train under the guidance of Luke's ghost, but instead of Luke being a cheerleader or actually just an exposition machine, he truly challenged her in this film. That's an incredible thematic thread, the idea that the Jedi must evolve or then die, and that the Force belongs to everyone, not just an elite few. Kylo Ren's story in this version was darker, more tragic, and honestly, a lot more interesting. He wasn't redeemed. There was no rushed "I love you, Dad" moment or miraculous babyface turn in the final act. In this one, Kylo dove deeper into the abyss, seeking forbidden knowledge on Mustafar, communing with the dark spirit of an ancient Sith master. He became consumed by obsession and pain, all while being trolled by Luke's Force Ghost as he promised in The Last Jedi. Kylo Ren wanted to destroy the Jedi and the past and everything in his path, including himself, and that made him a true mirror of what Anakin Skywalker once feared that he could become. The title Duel of the Fates wasn't only fan service relating back to the iconic prequel soundtrack, it actually meant something. It symbolized the collision between two philosophies: fate versus choice, bloodline versus belief, and legacy versus freedom. Rey and Kylo's battle wasn't only about swinging a faster lightsaber, it was about what the Force actually represents. Kylo was the embodiment of destiny, someone who was totally convinced that his blood defined him, while Rey was the embodiment of rebellion, someone who said, no, destiny is actually what you make of it instead. The fate of the Force itself hung in the balance. Now, if Disney had actually gone with this, it would have sent a clear message to fans. We trust the story we've been telling. The way to course correct something is not by telling people, hey, everything you saw didn't actually matter or it didn't actually happen. No, it's to build off of it logically and create and find cohesion that attempts to satisfy all the audiences. What The Rise of Skywalker was devoid of was actual heart. Duel of the Fates, by contrast, had something that The Rise of Skywalker didn't. It did everything with conviction. It knew what kind of story it wanted to be, one about the people who fight back when all hope seems lost. And the Coruscant sequences in Trevorrow's scripts are a perfect example. And yes, Coruscant is a huge part of it, which is a nice homage to the prequels. It's a saga after all. Bring it all together. Finn and Rose lead citizens and defected stormtroopers through underground tunnels toward the Jedi Temple, trying to activate a beacon that can pierce the First Order's communication blockade. And that beacon is a symbol. It's the literal voice of the people actually rising up. And it's the kind of emotional payoff that Star Wars used to be built on. Ordinary doing the extraordinary. And that's where Disney really could have put Star Wars back on the right track. Because beyond nostalgia and lightsaber duels, Star Wars is rebellion. It's about challenging power, rejecting conformity, and choosing hope when the odds are impossible. Duel of the Fates very much understood the assignment in that sense. If Trevorrow's version had been made, the franchise might have had a stronger foundation for the future. You could launch spin-offs about stormtroopers rebuilding their identities after defecting, about Rey forming a new kind of Jedi Order built on balance instead of hierarchy, about the galaxy learning to live without empires and legends. The Skywalker Saga would have ended, truly ended, but the universe would have felt more alive than ever. It would have given Disney long-term credibility. Fans would have respected the creative integrity, and it would have invited curiosity about what comes next instead of fatigue about everything that's already been done. The backlash from The Last Jedi would not have been erased, but it might have evolved into admiration. Sure, Trevorrow's script had flaws. Some of its details, like Kylo's weird force-draining subplot or the ghost of an ancient Sith master, might have needed some refining, and it would have needed some tweaking after the untimely passing of Carrie Fisher as well. But the bones were solid. In hindsight, it's almost poetic. The movie called Duel of the Fates represented exactly what Star Wars was facing in real life. Two paths. One led to safety, familiarity, and repetition. The other led to uncertainty, risk, and maybe greatness. Disney chose the safe one. And as a result, Star Wars lost some of its magic, and now the franchise is under constant scrutiny from fans, even as it produces some hits like The Mandalorian and the critically acclaimed Andor. I just wish we got to debate ideas, because that's where fandom can actually be serviced effectively. What does it mean to be a Jedi now? How does a galaxy rebuild after fascism takes over? Can the Force evolve with its people? Those are the questions worth talking about with substance, and that's what keeps a franchise alive. Instead, we're wondering, why did these two characters kiss in the first place? At the end of the day, that's what Duel of the Fates offered. Not a perfect script, but it was direction. A version of Star Wars that believed in growth. And yeah, I would have loved to have seen General Hux going on a Jedi hunt and seeing Mace Windu's purple lightsaber again. The movie said that the Force doesn't belong to one family, it belongs to everybody, and that heroes can come from anywhere. That revolution is messy, but it's also necessary, and it said that endings don't have to be nostalgic in order to be satisfying. They just have to be honest. If Disney had gone with this version of the script, Star Wars might have left the Skywalker Saga with a sense of closure and hope instead of confusion and deja vu all over again. It would have honored the myth while moving beyond it, and it would have trusted the audience to grow with it, and that is perhaps the most important part of all of this.